Hi, everyone. I'm Vinny. I am a product marketer here at Alchemy. And next to me is Jonathan. He's our product lead for Alchemy Rollups, which is our Rollups as a service offering. And today's conversation / webinar is about Alchemy Rollups. We have an incredibly strong team behind our RAS, and I think that we have the best offering in the space. And I want to tell y'all why in a way that's different than reading a one-pager or looking at our website. And so I thought I'd sit down with you and we can talk through how Alchemy Rollups came into being, why we committed to helping scale Ethereum with this roadmap, how the last year has gone, and then we'll go over why somebody would choose us. I think that we are working with ambitious teams that need a thought partner as well as an infrastructure provider because they are hitting scale and they are breaking out of this past year or two's model of just deploying a rollup. They have visions and they really need this customized block space in order to succeed. And so just wanted to discuss that with you. Why don't you give us a little bit of your background and how you got to be the lead for this product?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Vinny. Excited to be here. Hey, everyone. I'm Jonathan. I got into crypto a really long time ago, back in 2014. And as an engineer, loved playing around with crypto, started building smart contracts in 2017. And it really wasn't until maybe 2021 where it felt like there were a lot of legitimate projects and legitimate engineering teams building in the space. Mm-hmm. And so around that time, I started a blockchain data indexing company called Satsuma. And saw a ton of success with that. Alchemy ended up buying this company a few years ago, and that's how I ended up here at Alchemy. And given that we had a ton of experience running infrastructure, working with teams on their infrastructure, it made a ton of sense to transition into working on the rollup side of the business. And it's been a really fun time since then.
Totally. It's hard to believe we've been public for barely a year, or the Alchemy Rollups product has been public for barely a year. Yeah. We observed the space for a while some other teams, mostly startups, were starting to build these RAS offerings. And then when we felt that we had the angle and the product that the industry needed, we jumped in and ran full tilt for the past year here. Serious teams need serious block space now, and we are seeing mature projects coming to us all the time with a lot of velocity, and they need a thought partner, they need white glove engineering, they need all this kind of bespoke support plus experience running infrastructure that scales to an enterprise level, because we actually have those users in Web3 now, and we're seeing that growth. So given all that, that's my 2 cents, but would love your take on what differentiates our RAS offering from the other strong teams that are out there.
Yeah, for sure. It's a really great question. So the way I think about it, like you said, rollups are not a 2-week effort for teams. Mm-hmm. Launching a chain is really on average a 3 to 6 month effort. Involves your entire company from engineering to product to sales to marketing. Often ends up being a 12-month plus effort to go from research and ideation all the way to execution.
Sure.
And so these are really, really serious projects that teams should take very seriously because there's a ton of upside to be gained. And so where we come in terms of how we can help are a few areas. The first is that completely table stakes is having the best reliability and track record for your rollup. I think anyone can run a rollup, but not everyone can guarantee that rollup will be operating at 4 nines or 5 nines of reliability. And Alchemy is the only team in the space that has had 7 years plus of track record. We have hundreds of employees. We have hundreds of millions of funding in the bank to make sure that your rollup will always be up and running. Unlike, say, Ethereum that has a decentralized set of operators, if you're switching to a rollup, you're really trusting your infra provider to always be available. And so that is by far and away the number one thing. And it's not just reliability. I think the other two things that we see are, one, when you're launching a chain, you're typically launching a network. You're launching a network and trying to build this flywheel between users, developers, and capital. And it's really hard to get a new network started. It's really hard to bootstrap these things from scratch. But with Alchemy, we have a ton of distribution on all angles. So we can help you on the developer side with millions of developers having used Alchemy, launch you on our dashboard, put you on our Twitter, on our newsletter, and so on. And that co-marketing also applies to getting users as well. We've seen tons of projects launch extremely successfully through Alchemy. And then, so not just the distribution piece, I think for folks that want the best teams building on their network, Alchemy has a wide swath of developer tools that folks like Uniswap, that folks like Coinbase and Circle all leverage. And so if you work with Alchemy, you can immediately have some of these folks start to build on your chain. So those are some of the major reasons. I'd say if you are in the bucket of generally further along, maybe a little bit bigger, the last bucket is really around the only RAS provider that has worked with large institutions before. And the variety of aspects there are security. So SOC 2, having a trust and security center, having a team on hand to address any issues. And these are really, really important for the larger folks.
Totally. Everything you just said is true. And I just want to caveat, like if you're a serious builder who is ready to enhance your app or ecosystem and you don't have the expertise running infrastructure at scale, which, why would you? If you're building an app, you probably weren't working in infrastructure, like enterprise infrastructure beforehand. We're here to do that hard work for you so you can focus on what you do best, which is your app, your community, your UX, everything that improves the experience for your users. So just wanted to call that out.
Yeah. Just to add a little bit there, it's a great call out. Pretty sure we're the only RAS provider today that allows you to, on our pay-as-you-go plan, for completely free, spin up a testnet and get started. And we've seen tons of smaller startups do this in the early days. So you can get up completely for free. And as soon as you're getting serious about launching the chain more publicly, we will pull in all of our engineering resources to really help you do that.
Totally. One of the things that I think about is why somebody would want a rollup. Maybe 2 years ago, late 2023, early 2024, rollups and the L2 scaling roadmap became pretty apparent. And at first it seemed like everybody is going to have a rollup. And that may still be true. We might hit one day where Web3 has essentially replaced Web2 and everybody needs this block space. But I wouldn't say right now that everybody needs a rollup, but the teams that do really do. So I would love you to explain like why you would want to consider launching a rollup in the first place.
The first is, for some product reason or another, you want to have the ultimate control and customizability of your chain and your use case. I think a great example here is World Chain, which is the eyeball scanning protocol that allows you to prove that you're human on chain. They want to allow humans to get priority over AI agents or robots or traders on their world chain. And so they were able to actually build that specific sequencing algorithm into their chain itself. And there's no way that you can go to a Base or an Ethereum and get that built into the roadmap. So really the first is unlocking unique use cases for your product. And then there's a couple of very straightforward benefits outside of that. If you are hitting the limits of an Ethereum or EVM-based chain, you can get your own dedicated block space.
Right.
So we've seen several popular projects on these rollups or EVM chains eventually take up 50% or more of the throughput on that chain. That's what happens when you get successful. And unfortunately, if that happens, that means you're at the whims of all the other activity on the chain. So your gas fees can spike, so your costs go up, your transaction landing times can go up, and it causes a really bad user experience.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, for
yes, it does.
So that's another big reason. There's a couple other reasons that a lot of people don't know about. One basic one is saving costs. So if you're paying rent to not just Ethereum L1, but even in L2, we've seen projects pay up to $1 million a year just in these gas costs. If you're paying this much, you should definitely be on your own chain. And you can bring that down by 100x very, very quickly. And then last piece is making more money. You actually turn what originally was a cost center into a profit center. So if you start to see lots of other projects building on your chain, then you get to capture a lot of that gas profit. So Base is a phenomenal example. Arbitrum One is another example. Base is doing around 100 million annual revenue just off of these gas fees.
Yeah, that's a nice revenue line for sure.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, you are talking to dozens of teams a week about this, and we, like I mentioned, are an advisory. So Jonathan is having discussions with teams, not all who deploy a rollup, not all who sign with us, and he's happy to have this convo with anyone who is thinking about a rollup but might not understand all of the nuances there. Maybe some of those sound like it would apply to your project, but you're unsure. And we love talking to builders, and it's the bulk of what we do. So if you have questions about where you fit in on what you just said for if a rollup makes sense for your project, we will happily take the time that you need to walk through and explain it to you so that you feel confident about whether a rollup should be on your roadmap or not.
Yeah, 100%.
So why don't you walk me through what our RAS offering actually entails?
Yeah, for sure. So first off, it includes everything you need to get started. Like we talked about earlier, we have everything that you need, even on our pay-as-you-go plan, to get started with a testnet for free. So you can go into your Alchemy dashboard and deploy a chain, select the DA layer, select the settlement layer, select which integrations you want, and then in one click deploy that. So just to go into specifics, we support all of the major frameworks, rollup frameworks today. So we support OP Stack, we support Arbitrum Orbit, and we support ZK Sync chains. So the main frameworks. And we also support many of the popular settlement layers. So whether you want to settle to Ethereum L1 or maybe Base, we can support that. We also support all the major DA, so data availability options. Many teams start with Ethereum L1, either blobs or call data to start with. And then if they really do see scaling costs and want to optimize, they might go with another provider like Celestia or EigenDA, both really, really great options in their own right. So out of the box, you get not just this Rollup infrastructure with these various options. You also get everything that you might expect. You get a block explorer. We have a ton of monitoring and metrics on your chain, so you can see the charts of what's going on, as well as really easy instructions on how you can run a node yourself. So we allow you to do that yourself or easily share with other people. So that's kind of the core offering that we see. And then on top of that, we really leverage Alchemy's bread and butter and superpowers. So Alchemy has 100+ APIs. We have smart wallets. We have extremely scalable and performant RPCs. We've benchmarked our RPCs recently, and at scale, it's 2 times to 3 times faster than our competitors. And you get all of these tools built into your chain right out of the box. So the second piece is just once you have the chain, you get all of these tools and add them on. And then really after that, it's talking about how you go to market and scale. We talked about this earlier as well, but that's where our amazing go-to-market team comes in. When you're launching your testnet or especially when you're launching your mainnet, we help co-write blog posts, do Twitter, quote tweets and threads for you, all to help you scale your user base.
Yeah. And things like events, partner ecosystem introductions. We have a robust network of partners. Having been in the industry this long, we make the networking connects that people need in order to build further partnerships or find more success there. So the marketing, BD, and ecosystem teams love to see these rollups launch. They're interesting, and they afford us an opportunity to really flex our creative muscles and do what we do best. So, and I would point out that everything you just said is, like you said, it's for our customers. This is not the experience reserved for the worlds of the Web3 world. This is for anybody that comes and signs a contract with us. It's all right here. And we do, of course, have enhancements here, and you can get even more enterprise level tools, which I'll let you talk about in a moment if you need to. But yeah, this is a quite robust package for whatever size of rollup or project you're at.
Yeah. Just to touch upon that last piece for enterprises, oftentimes as we see the bigger you are, the more custom your project ends up being. And so we are happy, and actually this is where we shine in helping you customize your chain. Yep. So we have white glove technical support, and also we can offer things like custom forks of your chain, custom precompiles. We have a bunch of different custom multi-sig key setups, and these are all things that we're happy to work with you on.
Yeah, our company is filled with people who like to build stuff. So customization, creating new projects, this is what gets the team excited. And to go with that, we have a extensive support team. It's something that Nikhil and Joe, our co-founders, have really believed in from day one when they were doing it. And we hire really skilled engineers who focus full-time on support or solutions engineering. And I think it shows. Yep. Our support team itself is bigger than some startup competitors in the space. We have the ability to make sure that we can help you with custom work, or we can fix any problems if they occur. Hopefully they don't. But this is an underrated part of success, because we learn in infrastructure pretty quickly that a lot of people don't think about it until something goes wrong. And so we have to have the redundancy to make sure that nothing ever goes wrong. And when you're working with somebody that's not Alchemy, you may experience what happens when you don't have those redundant systems in place, both from tooling and personnel perspective.
Yeah. It's a great call out. Just some points to add, some specifics. I believe, Vinny, you and I were talking to our support team recently, and the stat they gave us sounded crazy to me, but they actually had the data to back it up. We respond on average to our customers in under 5 minutes across the board.
Yeah.
And that's 24/7, 365 days a year. So really amazing stat. And it shows in the RAS offering and the Rollups offering as well. We had about a month or two ago, there were some issues with the Pectra upgrade, which is completely normal. You would expect to have some issues when the L1 is going through some major upgrades.
Yes.
And that caused a bunch of downstream issues with all the RAS providers. We were able to catch that, get our customers' chains back up and running in 3 minutes. And many of our competitors were not even back up in 3 to 4 hours after the issue.
Yeah. And yeah, we've said it before, but it's the support, the tooling. We've been building monitoring systems for over half a decade, and it's that kind of experience that lets us get back up in a couple minutes. And also the issues on Pectra were pretty minimal, given they're upgrading the entire L1 network. So that was impressive, but that is a great call out.
Yeah. I think like our philosophy is all this blockchain tech, to be honest, is very new. It's very cutting edge. Many of these rollup frameworks are less than a year or 2 years old. And so there are always going to be unforeseen issues. The question is, how do you handle unforeseen issues?
Totally. All right, so we're getting towards the end of this, and I have a few questions that I have prepared for you, and I'm going to read it just so that I don't mess it up. But for our customers, they will ask about performance and scalability. We've talked about it for 20 minutes. This is a key element to success. What have you seen in terms of performance and scalability, and how do you answer questions about what we can offer our customers?
Yeah. Very, very common. You start on some public blockchain and you might want your own rollup for scalability reasons.
Yes.
So it's natural to want to think ahead. The first thing that I'd say is, if you take a step back, you really want to anchor on real world scalability and practical scalability, and not kind of just benchmarks alone. And if you take a look at the entire Ethereum rollup ecosystem, I believe as of right now, it's about 400 user ops per second, which is amazing. It's amazing that as an ecosystem, Ethereum has been able to scale to that point. We have seen testnets on Alchemy push past 500 transactions per second. So in terms of real world practical use, there's very few use cases that are going to get to that point once you introduce actual economic incentives. I think there's a variety of benchmarks that people use. There's TPS, there's MGAS as well. We have done our own benchmarks and also seen our existing customers scale. And to be honest, I think like really today's frameworks have done an amazing job of allowing 99% of applications to practically scale 500 plus TPS.
Yes.
We've seen 50 plus MGAS on our rollups. And I think long term, we're not just even seeing continued scaling of the rollup frameworks themselves, but we really believe if you want thousands, tens of thousands transactions per second, and you really need that in a practical way, that is eventually going to move towards more horizontal scaling. We see this with Ethereum itself and how it's scaling. And I think the same pattern is going to happen with rollups.
Great. What about smart wallets? How does that fit into a decision to deploy a rollup? What are we offering here? What do you talk to customers about when they ask for your advice here?
Yeah, it's a great question and very timely, because as the industry is trying to mature and reach past beyond the crypto degens of the past, we really need to abstract away the wallet entirely from the user.
Yes.
The average normie is not going to be able to figure out seed phrases and MetaMask or you name your favorite wallet, and clicking through and signing transactions. So we think that abstracting that away from your users is table stakes for any sort of chain and amazing product experience. So we have a broad suite of tools here. We don't only have kind of the front end UI components for developers to build amazing login experiences, but we also have some of the underlying account abstraction infrastructure that chains often want. And chains, we'll see, want this infrastructure for a variety of reasons. One is that you can allow your users to pay for gas in a variety of tokens. So maybe you have your own protocol token and you want to allow your users to pay in that token, or USDC, something else. So that's one very common use case. And then smart account wallets are extremely flexible and enable some amazing use cases. And we're seeing many developers and many apps shift over to this paradigm. So it's really important that as a rollup operator that you give your developers and ecosystem developers the tools that they need.
Totally. That is very succinct. And I like to sum this up when I'm talking to potential customers as the standard that developers building on your chain expect now is a base. Like, it's not bare bones. It's an incredibly robust experience. And that's table stakes. There's lots of layer 2 options out there for a developer to decide to deploy an app on. And most of them use us. And so they have these developer tools. And if you're not offering something like what Jonathan's talking about on the smart wallet and smart accounts, account abstraction area, as well as everything else we've gone over, like, you're risking not attracting the developers you need to build the experiences that you need on your chain. And that maybe you have a app specific chain and you don't need those, but that's not usually the case with people we're talking to.
Well, actually, we see that it's also useful for the app specific chains.
Okay.
I think it's actually like it goes one of two directions. Either you're an app chain and you want the best UX for your product experience and you want to abstract everything away from top to bottom. And account abstraction and smart wallets kind of enable you to allow the user to not even realize there's a blockchain underneath. And then, of course, the secondary that we're talking about with folks that have an ecosystem of developers, you want to enable those folks as well.
Totally. Yeah. So it's about the great user experience. We have a phrase here that has made it on many a t-shirt that says, "My mom thinks I work at Bitcoin." And that's actually a great thing to keep in mind here, is like the people that we're onboarding as we start to hit critical mass don't know what Ethereum is, let alone what signing a transaction is. And so we offer tools to maybe not make it quite simple enough for somebody who thinks we work at Bitcoin to get on chain, but we're getting there. So yeah, this is a critical piece for rollups. And another critical piece for rollups is the framework you build on. And so you mentioned that we work with the OP stack, with Arbitrum Orbit, with ZK, is it ZK stack?
ZK Sync, yeah.
ZK Sync's stack. And so just wanted to talk to you, like, how do you advise people when they know they want to roll up and they're not sure which framework? What's our relationship like with those providers?
Yeah. First of all, we think all the providers are really great and work very closely with all of them, and generally try to just help the rollup operators pick the one that's best suited for their use case.
Yeah.
I think they have all carved out their own specific areas that they're amazing at. OP Stack has really focused on this vision around an interoperable superchain. And what that means is that for chains that pick OP Stack, and especially go with a superchain, you can move assets around very easily and build amazing cross-chain applications very easily.
Mm-hmm.
So OPE Stack is focused more on this direction. In terms of Arbitrum Orbit, they are focused a little bit more on customizability and a bit on performance as well. So you get many more configurations that you can tune on your chain, like things like fast withdrawals, lower block times. You can set a custom gas token right out of the box natively in the chain. So if you are focused on building something very unique and custom for your use case, then Arbitrum Orbit is definitely the best place for you. And then finally, ZK Sync and ZK Stack. Really, if you are building in a couple areas, where they excel is built-in privacy, built-in permissioning.
Yes.
We're seeing a lot of interest from fintechs and TradFi on this angle. So all have their own special superpowers for specific people.
Totally. And unlike some of the other RAS providers, like, we are running the infra for the chains behind these frameworks anyways. And we have a core RAS team here, but honestly, everybody pitches in all the time on different things at Alchemy. So we have deep years long of experience working with these teams on a fundamental layer. We have relationships with the people that designed and built the chains. And so it's not just that we're familiar with running these frameworks. It's a core bond with all of these teams, so we can troubleshoot and work through custom building on any of these stacks in ways that competitors just haven't been in the space long enough.
Yeah, 100%. The space moves so quickly, so it's kind of amazing to see all three of these frameworks kind of grow up in some ways, because Alchemy has been powering all of them almost since the beginning. I think there's a specific story of OP's actual token launch before they even had a chain, and suddenly all our metrics went through the roof. Things were blowing up in terms of scale, and thankfully nothing happened.
Yeah, the infra was not blowing up.
Thankfully everything went well with the token launch.
Weren't they in the same building or something back in the day?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, the industry is getting big, but it is still small at its roots. Well, thank you, man. It's great to sit down. This is actually very fun. And
we should do this more.
Yeah, we should. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. I hope this has given a good explanation of what Alchemy Rollups is, as well as some really wise thoughts from somebody who's seriously building in the space about the RAS offerings in general and why or why not you may not want to roll up. So if you are considering this at all, like I said, we love to do advisory and we love to just meet people who are building in the space. So alchemy.com/rollups has all of the info that Jonathan just listed. Very easy way to get into our dashboard and deploy that testnet for free, like we talked about. I do it frequently actually for marketing, and then we have to delete them because I'm not going to mainnet on mine. But you can get there easily, see the value props, and then you can reach out to the team there. We respond very quickly, and we would love to talk to you. So again, thank you for being here, and if you're watching still, thanks for watching.